Web3 Media Friends, welcome, welcome, welcome. Another Saturday in the side hustle here in Web3, where we talk about builders and entrepreneurs and creatives in the space who are looking to make an impact and take that step from, hey, I hold stuff and I dig the space into I want to build in this space. I want to create in this space. And I've got somebody I'm excited to talk about, Maggie, who is the creator of Book of Reverie. She's like a top clothier of PFPs. Let me tell you, in terms of like, I think it's projected to be digital fashion to be about $2.5 billion by 2028. I think given just the percentage of clothing that you've provided for PFPs, you should be getting a sweet take of that, Maggie. Welcome to the show.
That would be nice. Thank you so much, Minty. Thank you for having me and for that wonderful intro. Yeah, quite a few outfits that Reverie.
I know I'm going to go over the website soon, and I hope that I see some also in sort of the Twitter as well of Book of Reverie, because it provided so many outfits in that outreach. We're just talking about communities and finding communities to work with, and it's such an interesting symbiotic way, but it feels like such a great way to grow organically, is to find like a group, find like minds, and then grow, and then and create. So could you just take us back through your process, like your thought process? Because I feel like this started for me, my exposure to you was with WoW. And like, you started with WoW, you had this character, you named her, and you took such great time and care to develop who she is. So take me to that process of going through, like, I hold this PFP and now I want her to be somebody.
Yeah, sure. So right off the bat, initially, when I first purchased her, that wasn't my intention to make her into a character. I knew that I wanted to be part of the World of Women community. I saw the value in the people that I was communicating with and wanted to make that leap. But it wasn't until really the pink tuxedo. So I created this pink tuxedo for Reverie, February of 21. And it just became this sort of movement that people really held on to and started doing it across collections. And it was around the time that WoW and Yemkarkai were auctioning off a WoW at Christie's. So it was a big deal. It was this really cool Web3 event. And so everybody started suiting up their PFPs in pink tuxedos. And the funny part of that story is that I decided to change Reverie's outfit prior to knowing that was actually going to happen, that they were going to go to Christie's. It was all sort of speculation at the time. And then when it happened, that was when everything really took off, and we started seeing Bored Apes wearing pink tuxes and just so many different collections. So that was really cool. So I learned a lot from that experience, just seeing what, a small piece of art could do to unite people and bring them together and just have fun and, joyously celebrate something together. So
that was a small piece of art, and also a piece of digital wear. We're right. Doing it in this 2D sense, and I think that was the very interesting part for me as well. Was like, you're like, oh, okay, we can dress these for the occasion, and I think that WoW picked up on that as well, and they started, offering additions to their PFPs around that time as well, for these events, for these galas, for these milestones in the project.
Right. Yep. For sure. Sure.
And so you had, my second sort of contact with you was actually through New Tokyo Rumors. And like, I caught your work there. I saw your curation there, and I saw your piece there, and I was just like, and you did something else where I was just like, who is this? Like, who is this? And what is she doing? Walk me through how you found 10KTF as a community.
So I was introduced to 10KTF because of WoW. And I had always been interested in the project, but I was sort of following from afar. It was probably around the same time, actually, that I first got into WoW, that I started following 10KTF, but not as closely. And then it was around the Gucci Grail drop that I really just saw the potential there to, to be part of something where a luxury brand was making their first foray into Web3. So I felt like from a historic, blockchain provenance, all that perspective, that it was going to be a very important collection. So I wanted my wow, who at the time wasn't named, to be part of that. And so I scrounged up all the ETH that I had and was able to get a mint pass for the Gucci Grail, and turned my wow into Reverie. That was really when she first came to life. So yeah, I really wanted it to, I wanted to just capitalize on that relationship with Gucci, and make that purchase for me make sense. Like it was a big, it was sort of a big investment for me. So I
And
wanted
we
to
felt safer making that investment because that was the same time that I sort of came back to 10KTF as well, because the seriousness of it was, it went up a notch. We were talking, before, it's just like, I remember kind of fading 10KTF a bit. I was just like, oh, I don't know. Wagme-san, he just like, he likes taking photos and like he goes off on vacation. Like, I don't get, there's just all these like weird, like little mechanics they're playing with, but I could see the brilliance of them playing. So I kind of kept tabs, but then it's suddenly like, wait, partnership with Gucci. And
right.
then you start looking at the visuals. You're like, this is Alessandro like presenting himself in the world.
Right.
That is a huge, we were talking about that. It's just like, that is such a bold step for Alessandro Michel to make, because it's such a risk, at that time, but it gave us so much confidence, right? And just like,
Right.
oh, well, if he's going to do that, I'm going to take, 10KTF way more serious now. Right.
Sure. Yep. Definitely. Yep. That was my mindset too. So, and then I was really, really amazed and surprised by the response I got with the illustration of her in Wagme-san shop, and just how people loved that story. So
And I love too that you also, you're like me. And when I wanted to do my little collabs with 10KTF, I asked for permission. I was just like, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this, and they came back to me and they're like, okay, just don't do this. Don't go and mint Wagme-san. Just like, they gave me like these rails, which I thought were so freeing. It was just like, oh, okay, great. There's way. Talk us through like sort of how that interaction went for you.
So I just completely took my artistic liberty to to do it, and to place her in that scene. Figgy saw it early on. I had posted sort of like a little teaser of Reverie in the Gucci collection, the Love Parade, and he retweeted it, I think. And so that was like confirmation for me that I was doing something right. But it was a risk, and it was something I was very nervous at the time about putting it out there. It was really my first time putting a piece of myself out there.
Into Web3, which can seem so not so welcoming sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean and there's so much, that people believe in transparency and just sharing everything, and that's typically not how I operate. So
and that is independent of what we love about Web3 as well. Is to some degree it should be permissionless. There's certain things we'd have to adhere to with main story, but to take Reverie, to create her, to make her world, is within our rights. It's kind of what we should be doing. It's kind of what the brands should want us to be doing, honestly, because we're growing it in ways that they can't have the time for or can't comprehend, or in ways that I think are very, very different. And I think that what I love about your creation of Reverie is she seems so organic. Like you've taken the time. Like we're walking through this book on the website, bookofreverie.com. And this is like a book. You wrote like her story, and like, sort of as we're going through, just like, the outfit, and then Wagme-san. And then you started to take her into, I remember doing, the mints. It started to get very, very your own story. You kind of like, you were like, okay, great. That's the leaping off point, but I have a story in mind for her. Can you walk us through that process?
So it's not linear whatsoever. I have always sort of a million ideas bouncing around in my head at one time, and just seeing how I can tie them into current events or the 10 KTF lore, some things with World of Women, and make the story my own, but pull pieces of other stories into hers as well. And I think the biggest thing for me is making it a story that is community driven, where it's something that can either provide value to the community through outfits or creating physical fashion that uses their IP if they would like to. So all of those things, I think, at the heart of her story is to highlight other people in the community and bring them into the story and what they're doing. And as her story grows and I meet more people, there are more opportunities that have just come my way, and that's always the best thing when somebody responds and they say, "Oh, I'd love to do this," or would you be interested in having Reverie Story crossover with this? And I'm just starting to really do that now, so that's super exciting for me.
And the first physical that you did, it wasn't the purse, it was the hoodie, right?
Yeah, so the hoodie was the first one. So I bought a Wow G that had the hollow hoodie as a treat, which I love her. She hasn't really been at the forefront of Reverie Story whatsoever. She's just this mysterious character that people don't really know about at this point. But so I used the IP of that trait and created a physical that mimics what you see on the NFT.
And
So
so it definitely glows in real life, I'm imagining.
yes, oh for sure. No, it's actually really cool. So producing physicals has been an interesting process, and it's always something that it's just trial and error and testing things out. And sometimes the quality is not up to par. That's something that's always really important to me, is I want to make sure that it's a quality item. Otherwise, I won't ever release it. And when I first got the hoodie sample, I was so excited because the colors were just perfect. And it doesn't literally glow, but like it has this sort of like glowing effect to it. So I was really, really excited. That's the best thing, when you have this idea and then you can, put it digitally, make it come to life digitally, and then have it to hold in your hands. So
It's often overlooked that move into and transition to physicals, because I, like you, obsess over the details, and clothing is important, and sort of wearables are important, and physical goods are important to me. And so when I'm doing the things that I do, like, it's just like I give myself a lot of time, because I think there's a lot of time that has to take place for that QC, as you said, getting the sample. But then really, like, I wash it.
yeah.
I wear it. I really try and get a sense of the fit and sort of how it's going to age, with, whoever's holding it. I
Mhm.
want them to hold it for a long time. And so the idea of, just shipping, putting something online, just like, going to some vendor online, to me is just so like cringe, because it's just like, it's kind of what everybody's doing. You see like a lot, the black hoodie. I mean, come on. It's
Yep.
just like, right. It's just like, oh gosh, it's everybody's doing it, and everyone has the expectations that they should sell, $200, $300 hoodies. But
Mhm.
what's the value of it? You go into, these sort of things, but the attempt at creating is very, very, I think, lacking in the QC, lacking in sort of the care of it, and sometimes. And so, but when I see your work, and I see your sort of your love, dedication to, getting the colors right, and then the quality of, and we'll show sort of maybe a quick unboxing while you're talking about this. The quality, I think, of the handbag was quite amazing. It was like very well thought of. Take us through that process of like saying, you know what, I'm gonna do a handbag.
Yeah. So the thing that was important to me again with that was to figure out a way that I could make it um, unique for the buyer, where I didn't want to. My first thought was actually that I had seen so many hoodies, and I wanted to create something that I wanted to make. and that I wanted to carry. And I tend to have a pretty like neutral wardrobe, but I do like color with accessories and shoes. And so I initially made it for me, really, without the intention of doing anything else with it. But I thought, hey, if I am somebody who wants this, and, you know, I know that the space is probably predominantly male, but I didn't want to cater to the audience necessarily. I wanted to make something that I thought women might respond to, and it would be, it would be something more unique and more special, and something that I personally love. So that
I'm
was,
telling you, there's a lot of Russian males who would wear this. There's like it's like a thing. It's a thing in upper class Russia to have like these they call them man purses, but like they're very like nice, luxurious purses to keep all of your Russian rubles just in case you need to flee
yes.
the country. But like I think there's that's the thing is just like you design what you love, and I think that clearly here you had some inspirations from Reverie and her journey through Web3.
Mhm. Yeah, so the thing too with the bag release, there is an NFT that goes along with it. So you mint the NFT, and then you can connect to the shop page and check out for free once it verifies that it's in your wallet. So learning that process too, like everything that I'm doing is just a huge experiment, really. I'm just learning as I go and testing things out and seeing how they go and how I can improve, and what can be done better, things that are working and things that aren't. So the drop around the handbag was really just a complete experiment. And so far, I'm very happy with it. I think the people who have received their bags so far are happy with the quality of the product. So yeah, overall, I'm really, really happy. And it's just fueled more inspiration for where I'm going to go, and what else can be created as far as physicals go. So I'm already working on a couple other things.
Ooh, is that the vision for you though? Like when you sort of set out to design, Reverie and have her world that she was going to be, this clothier within the space that was going to also do IRLs and these physicals. Like was that the vision, and is that the vision moving forward?
I don't think initially it was so much. I was more focused on just the storytelling aspect of it and creating art, and pairing that with short stories. And but I got a physical. I think it was my first thing. I got a nifty slab card of my WoW.
Mm,
I don't know if you've seen those, but they're
yeah.
like trading cards for NFTs basically.
Mm.
And it was signed by Yam.
Oh,
And
nice.
I bought it. There was a lot of hype around it at the time. It was still like everything was, you had to rush to get everything. And so I was really happy that I got one. And when I got it, I just I loved it so much, and it caught me off guard how much holding like a physical of the NFT meant to me. It was so strange. So I was like, wow, this is really something. And I don't know if other people ever felt that way, but
I mean, look, I have a Kagami behind me. I have like all
oh,
this
you
like
do.
I have all this stuff. It's like having the physicals is such a strong connector. Even IRLs for people, like when we meet each other, like
Yes.
it's insane, like the connection level,
Mhm,
the history we already sort of share together
mhm.
instantly, especially 10K TFers. We love hanging out with each other. We keep finding ways in LA to hang out with each other. I keep seeing Brennan everywhere. It's
Oh, you're
amazing.
so lucky.
Yeah,
Well, Brandon's my teammate with New Tokyo Rumors, and I
absolutely. You
was
guys are doing
lucky
a
to
killer
meet
job
him.
there.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I was closer to you guys and could meet up so easily, but yeah,
But that's
that
what NFT, NYC is for, NFT LA, and like these things that we can kind of come and congregate to.
mhm,
But they just, for me, verify that the importance of IRLs, the importance of the physical, is extreme, and it's until you've experienced it do you then realize, oh wow, I do have a strong. I've been on this server for a year. I do know these people in a sort
right,
of an intimate way, and
mhm.
I know these stories in an intimate way, and I think that that's the important part of your building from story, which I think is super super cool.
Yeah, people definitely, story is so important. We don't really realize how much it's intertwined with everything that we grow up with, and our culture, and movies, and everything that it boils down to story. So if you have a good story and you develop a character, I think that people, um, there's just more to that people can respond to, for sure. But yeah, the
Absolutely.
meeting in person. So my first experience with any IRL meetup was at the WoW Gala, and which was just this so like
How was that for you?
surreal.
Because you won an award, and I saw
Yeah,
footage. You got up on stage, and what did all the 10K TFers do?
they were saying you got to pump it up. They were so loud. It was
So
insane. It
amazing.
was just like the craziest. So you're like meeting all these people for the first time, and you're all dressed up, and but it is like those people. Like you haven't met them, but you know them, and um yeah, just it makes me want to travel all the time now, which is great and also really difficult, but
And expensive. So
yeah.
That's the thing. Reverie can just go on tour, and Reverie should do a tour, a gallery tour across the world.
Oh, love it.
Well,
Stealing
I'm going to
that
ask.
idea.
Yes, let me inspire that. I'm going to ask you a question while you're thinking about it. Maybe I'll share my own. Who are you watching currently in the digital space, fashion wise? Who interests you? Who's doing things with IRLs that interest you? Because we're talking about 10K TF, I'll mention mine that comes right to mind because I really enjoyed seeing the physical live was Mintage. Mintage does upcycle Levi's and denim
Mhm.
and just makes killer jackets and just like these really patchworky cool things. And 10KTF like had them at like their LA event, and we're giving them out in the raffle. I got a bunch of tickets and I like threw them all in there to try and get a large, but then it was just like I looked around, it's like of course everybody wants a large, and so it's just like I was like in this big pool. But the jackets themselves were fantastic. They were
Yeah,
great, and I don't know if you got a sense of this, but there was also something fashion wise there that everybody was going to kill for, or at least seduce for. The people that were working at the event had these new Tokyo Electric Company jumpsuits. They were denim jumpsuits.
I
They
do
were
remember, yeah.
okay. Wait, you were there? Were you
I
there?
don't know, I watched the whole thing live at the dance
Okay.
show, and I remember Atari going up to the guy and, like, him being very sus. That was the whole, like, thing with him. He was just like, there is I don't even know. I don't know who he was supposed to be or what, but I'm pretty sure he had on a jumpsuit.
A new Tokyo Electric jumpsuit, and it was just denim, and they were killer. Everybody, like I asked, some of the people there that were working. I was just like, "How many people have hit you up? What's the highest bid right now for you to go take this off in the back alley?" And they were like, "Significant,
Yeah,
very significant." So I don't know how many of those made it back home, but
yeah,
there
that's
was
funny.
these great elements of again pieces of the story that were
Right.
done well, within a fashion motif that was cool, like
Mhm.
as contemporary, and jumpsuits are fairly contemporary, and this one looked fairly awesome. And so um having that expanding the story is just like I'm like, wow, they've really have partnered with the right people on that one. Are there
Mhm.
any other designers or um projects where you're just like, wow, I think they're getting something right?
So this is probably the worst answer for this, but I really don't pay attention too much to what's going on.
That's fair.
Like I I'm on Twitter all the time. But it's more about what's going on within the community and immediate people that I know.
Yep.
And I haven't, maybe it's just me being not aware, but I haven't seen anything fashion wise that has really sparked my attention and like caused me to delve into it deeper. I did purchase, I don't think I have my hat, but um Ape Aesthetics.
Hmm.
Um, they collaborated with, I'm gonna forget the name of the brand, but they did a drop with Ranga, and I
Hmm.
got one of the hats, a Batman
Nice.
hat. Yeah, so that was the only physical, like fashion wise, that has interested me. But I should say that recently somebody brought artifact, a sneaker, some sort of like digital competition, I think, to my attention. And I feel like they're always in the background with fashion and being like a top tier NFT project, obviously with the ties to Nike. So they're kind of like on my radar in a distance, but I have not done enough research whatsoever to know really what's going on.
No, this is very typical with artists. This is like, I went through like my entire film school. I didn't watch like any movies. I was just so focused on my process. Guillermo del Toro told me, he's just like, all the money and the focus and the time that you spend watching movies, make your movies with it. And so it's just like, that's the process of an artist. And so this is not unreasonable. So it's just like, it's very, very common actually, to really bear down and sort of focus in, because you still, being part of, the Twitter community, you still get a sense of like, oh, what's popping and what's cool, and, what's strong, or, what does have attention grabbing gravitas, like Artifact having, pro basketball players wearing their things right before championship games, having LeBron, like, just like, the shot is so iconic. It's just like, it's like looking downward, and it's just like, you just see the red off the shoe. And it literally, the floor price was just like, like it was just rocketing down. It's just like, oh, hit the brakes. Oh, LeBron. And then recently a soccer player. I don't know that particular player, but, having these abilities to market is obviously, the strength of that platform. But we do focus in on, our communities and in getting a sense of their needs. And I think as an artist, you start to want to develop for those needs. You're like, oh yeah, we don't have anything more than the black hoodie, or we don't have anything, something that we could, nobody, I can't think of another person who's done accessories. Like, so I was just like, bravo, oh, Maggie, go.
Yes, I don't know. That's like the thing. So I did, this is a mistake that I made that I learned from. And in the initial marketing for the bag, I forget what the exact verbiage was that I used, but it was something like I think it was the first luxury handbag of Web3. And I got called out by somebody on that, who had produced a bag, and I loved the bag. And it was actually really great for me because I learned, don't ever say something's the first, Yeah,
you start narrowing it down. People do this. You're like, it's called the first fuckerism. We call it here on the show. It's just like, you're like, the first luxury handbag in the state of Maine. In the township that is nearby, in this area code, the absolute first. And you're going to get called out on it. And it's, it's BS, but it's more about, awareness. And if that person did do it first, what have you, it's about building awareness for a specific thing. That's why we sort of leverage that idea of being first, because we want to say, hey, look, this is something that I thought would service my community. I thought my community might love. And so that's why it comes to an idea as being novel and is important in that way, because it does service an area that you felt as an artist, gosh, I haven't seen that yet. I want to play there. And so I dig it. I love it. I'm a huge, huge fan. Can you give us a peek at sort of the vision for Reverie, just in sort of the short term? I know it's very organic, and I love that about that. But is there a direction that you're like, okay, I think I'm learning here, so this is kind of where I want to take it?
So there are a couple of big things on the horizon. One is going to be, I'm like deciding whether I want to reveal the whole thing or not, but there will be more physicals.
Okay. And don't feel any pressure, because Maggie, I hope to have you on like many times, and like, you're in those futures, you're going to be wearing like, a business suit in some boardroom, and I'll have to, just vie for your time. Please, Maggie, please let me have 2 minutes of your time. But, I'm thankful for your time now as well. And this small, glimpse into what I think is, this native Web3 brand. And this is what I love about this. You can feel sort of the nativism at its most, Web3 definitive nature. You got this PFP, you love this community, you start creating for this community, you start thinking about your communities. And as you sort of grow, within other communities, you start thinking about their needs and like, what you can produce. How do you leverage your talents, in the service of that, and survive as an artist? Let's be honest. Like, it's just like you want to, because there is a way to live and sustain yourself in Web3. It's just very, very nebulous at the moment. And I think that you have an amazing approach coming, as an artist, that I think is very, very inspirational. And I hope it works exceedingly well, over the moon well. Super, super bullish on Maggie. And thank you again for your time. And we want to have you back, because I think this Reverie story is, I feel like we're only in like the first book or chapter 1.
Yes, we are, for sure. There will be I can reveal that there will be another character who I've done a little bit about. His name's Atlas. And they will have stories that will cross over, and that's on the very, very near horizon. So I'm excited to share more about that in the future. But yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Minty, for having me. This was great, and I loved it, and I would love to come back anytime.
Heck yeah. Maggie, creator of Book of Reverie. Go to bookofreverie.com, and also you can follow Maggie at MagDillon on Twitter. I suggest you do, because her work is important. Thank you, guys. See you next time.